Hello friends, Steve Blankert here again and continuing with the Autolite generator rebuild project. This is going to be part 7 of this series. So when I last left you with part 6, I had removed the field coils from the generator and they were pretty nasty looking, so I was going to have to rewrap those, rewire them, and continue on from there. So I want to show you where I'm at now. I've done quite a bit since then. So here we are. I've got a lot of parts I've got cleaned up. I still have quite a few parts to go yet that still need to be painted, but the weather's not cooperating, so I'm working on other things. So here's the field coils. I completely stripped them, and this is the old wrapping that I removed. You can see this is kind of oil saturated cotton wrap, and they were really nasty and wet from oil getting in. But so I completely stripped the field coils down. I separated them. I installed new fiberglass insulation at the joint between the two, soldered them back together. I made a new positive output lead here with the proper flag terminal on it. Now these are all soldered to these kind of unusual square head bolt terminals. They have a slot on the top. Same thing here. So I unsoldered them, re-insulated, and then soldered them back on. So those field coils are all finished and they're ready to go. Now talking about why they were all wet. This originally used an open bearing. This is the old bearing that I took out of it. The problem with these, and that's just the way they were at the time, is that you had a little flip top, a little Gitz oiler here that went in this hole on the end casting, and people periodically would go ahead and drop oil down there, which would feed down to the bearing. But people always tend to over oil these things, and the oil would get to the bearings, and as it spun, it would spin out and get inside the generator. Now originally this had these two, on either side of the bearing were these felt retainers that were supposed to keep the oil from splattering in, but over the years and too much oil, they leak past it, they get onto the armature, and then it spins around and gets thrown up inside the generator housing here, and it soaks the field coil wrappings. So I'm going to be replacing this with a sealed bearing. This is a 203 FF I got from Advanced Auto Parts for about 10 bucks. So that will eliminate this whole problem of too much oil getting in it, because it's not going to be getting any oil. Now I will probably just plug the hole here. I know it's not authentic, and for those who are doing really thorough correct restorations, you want to have an oiler in there for appearance, but I don't want people dumping oil down that hole later on down the road when, after someone else owns it, and that oil has no place to go. It's just going to be a mess. So I just plug that hole probably. Now the funny thing is, this from the pulley end where this bearing goes got too much oil. At the other end, at the commutator end here, this rides in a bronze bushing at this end. Now the funny thing is, this one was starved for lubrication, just the opposite of the other end. And the way this works, and you can see this is a little oil reservoir down inside the end. And there's a felt, see that felt, it's about a 1/4 inch, a little less than 3/16 inch felt wick that goes up to a slot in the side of the bearing, and the bearing cavity there. And kind of hard to see here, I'm sorry. If I can get that to focus there a little bit. You can see how it rides up inside that. That's where the bronze bushing goes. And as you can see, the bronze bushing has a corresponding slot in it. So that felt would lay up against the side of the shaft. This cavity is filled with oil. There's a little oiler here, and there's a little trap door that you slide that over and drop oil down to keep this reservoir filled with oil, and it wicks up and lubricates the bushing and keeps this end lubricated. Well, when I took this all apart, it was packed full of grease, and grease won't wick up up to the bushing, so it was dry. And this bushing has about 5 thousandths of wear, particularly at the inside end, which kind of corresponds to about the 3.5, 4 thousandths of runout I found on the commutator. So I've ordered a new bushing that should be here in the next couple days, and I'll be replacing this bushing, and I'll have to mill or file the slot to go to correspond with the felt wick there, but that's easy enough to do. But this should be filled with about 30 weight oil that will slowly wick up in there. So I'm getting ready to put this back together. I still need to get this cleaned up and painted. On the other side, this is where the brush holders go. I've cleaned all my small parts here Now something I like to do, and it's not necessary for the restoration, but all these little parts that get rusty, I like to soak them in Evapo-Rust to dissolve the rust, and then I rinse them really well, and then I blue them. I just dip them in cold gun bluing, Birchwood Casey's Super Blue I think it is, and then dry them off, and then wipe them down with oil, and that gives them a little bit of a protective coating. Same thing even for the nut on the end of the shaft and all the little odds and ends, the springs and everything else. So those are all cleaned up and ready to go. I still need to paint both the end caps here. I need to paint the band. And I'm waiting for, I ordered some new old stock Autolite brushes for it. These are not the correct brushes, and I'll talk more about that when I get the correct ones in. So that's where I'm at right now. I think I've got some good progress done, but the weather has not been cooperating. It's cold and snowy and rainy, and it's supposed to drop down about 8 degrees the next tomorrow, and it's just ugly. So not good weather for painting. So it'll probably be a couple days till I can finish painting everything, and then I can start doing the final assembly. But things are coming along well. Haven't found any big problems. So I think we're making good progress here. So I guess that's all for right now. If you've got any questions, let me know, and we'll pick this up the next time. All right, y'all take care. Thanks.